Okay, everyone. So we're just going to get into the charts, get into the Bitcoin halving, what to expect on the charts from the Bitcoin halving, and other kind of key events that are going on in the crypto ecosphere, and what you can kind of expect from them, and what is the most crucial thing to keep looking at here. So if we look at the price history that we currently have, and we go down to, let's say, 3-day on the Bitcoin chart, and we kind of assess what has made some of these markets or some of these market moves move, then you can quickly tell the ETF news has impacted a lot of this. And if I go to the daily, I'm sure I'll be able to find, if my memory serves me right, where the ETF news was. Here, I think, was some ETF news. I think this was ETF news. And this was ETF news, like confirmation area, This is where it was kind of confirmed that the ETF was dropped. And since then, they've probably been buying billions of Bitcoin. And they already had billions. Just for the record, it's not as if they just started purchasing for their ETF. They'd been accumulating for months during this entire down phase. This everything here they've been accumulating. So it's a little bit a misunderstanding that BlackRock, etc., were just accumulating once the ETF was out. No, they've been accumulating for much longer than that. And yeah, so they had already bags they'd been buying from the weak hands for a while. So you can kind of see the ETF news is what's driving this, and I think you can kind of add fire to the fuel, or fuel to the fire, my bad. With on the ETF news fire, you can add fuel by the Bitcoin halving. And the Bitcoin halving, if you don't know, essentially just entails that when a Bitcoin block gets mined, you get a reward, which is currently, I believe, 6.5 or is it 3.25 Bitcoin? I think it's 3.25 Bitcoin. And then it gets split to 1.625, right? So it gets split in half. Quick maths, was that right? I believe so. I believe that was right. So that's essentially Bitcoin halving. So what can you expect here? I think very little. I think historically, if we look back in the charts, you look back in the charts to other Bitcoin halving periods, and you don't really. Now we had this, of course, massive rally here, and then we had 2016. It usually does develop a bull market and afterwards too. So actually, I'm kind of capping right now. I'm mainly referring to 2020, where even though in 2020 we did see a rally and it continued into 2021 and kind of topped out the year after. So what we could see, of course, is kind of this rally continue, and into, maybe that's a bit, maybe it is, we could see it continue, and into 2025, we see the top somewhere forming here. Whether that is the actual top drawn out, right? Whether we're actually going to hit 131,418 is not really my concern or what I'm busy with, but it's just kind of what we can look at. But I think more interestingly than the Bitcoin halving is going to be the ETF news. If we just go Bitstamp, remove these old drawings. I don't know how old those are, but those must be ancient. Okay. Either way, you see these old drawings? No, you don't. You see this chart, and you kind of begin to see that if Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin's up here, right? So Bitcoin has done this, and it's right up here currently. If the ETF news on Bitcoin has made it able to put an extra 34% on ETH's price, or like relatively in percentages. I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, 35% on Bitcoin price. Then you can assume ETH ETF news is kind of the next big thing that is going to roll around. And if Bitcoin is going to reach 130, if this bull market continues, then you can easily assume this is going to hit 10, right? ETH is eventually just a $10,000 coin. I'm not selling it for less. Let's put it that way. So I think that's going to be more interesting to thing to keep a lookout for than it is the entire halving narrative. I think halving is mainly going to just be used as a buzzword, and it's just going to be a consistently used word, like, oh shit, but the Bitcoin halving also happened. Normies will appear in the market and start saying it, and be like, oh yeah, but the halving, bro, the halving, and then we can pretend that it's relevant. All together we can pretend. And Bitcoin maxis will be extremely pissed at me saying that, but nobody gives a fuck about your Bitcoin halving. Let's be honest. Nobody's here for your Bitcoin halving. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about it. But does it fundamentally make a slight difference in the Bitcoin mining industry? Sure. Does that make a slight difference in the scarcity? Sure. Does it affect the monetary, quote unquote, policy of Bitcoin, or the, yes, sure. The financial history or financial backdrop in which Bitcoin is built? Sure. But simply put, when it comes to the chart, nobody actually really gives a fuck. Right? Nobody actually is going to be concerned about when the Bitcoin halving is and whether or not we should buy because of it. ETF news was different. I think ETF news was one of those events where you should have been buying. But you're still in that phase now with ETH where we are 34% behind. It is the second biggest market cap coin. And there will be ETH ETF. There might also be a Sol ETF one day. Who knows? So I'm not saying that ETH is the only other one that's going to get an ETF. I'm just saying this is an interesting chart. It's a good coin, quote unquote good. I don't really care. But when it comes to investing and not trading per se, this is still a decent chart. Now, it's way too up here. I would like to buy it lower, but eventually this is just going to rip in the next coming year when that ETH ETF news really starts to get some traction, really starts to get some momentum. So that's something to really look out for. And the Bitcoin halving is simply not something you should be too concerned about. Will it create extra hype? Will retailers come in and start, FOMOing in because of some Bitcoin halving? Probably some, But so will they in ETH once that ETH ETF news starts coming and Bitcoin is at all-time highs. Because what I like to think is Bitcoin does this. He's reached all-time highs, and you can expect here headlines. I don't know why I did that. We can just do it like this. Headlines start popping in. Retail's going to pop their fucking head into crypto. And that's when that ETH ETF news is going to start getting a little bit more traction than usual. And there's going to be a few more headlines about that ETH ETF and a few more pushes from BlackRock and these major banks to try to get their ETH ETF over while these retailers are losing their fucking mind over Bitcoin all-time highs. And during that phase, you're going to get so much FOMO that people will begin to buy ETH ETFs, because you have to understand the sum of information a lot of traders have, or a lot of retailers, not traders, retailers have. Retailers come into the market with an extremely limited knowledge of anything that's truly going on, right? They come in, they hear a buzzword, Bitcoin ETF was released. They read a few headlines and a few posts on Twitter, and they see, oh, Bitcoin ETF, and this is why the market pumped. They start to think they know, they get it. Bitcoin ETF was releasing, that's why it pumped, which means this ETH ETF, which is fairly true, honestly. It sounds like I'm just explaining my own mindset here. But they're just going to buy regardless of the price. They're just going to not actually understand what an ETF is, not actually understand any of this, and they just purchase blindly based off of headlines. Right? Or additionally, you just have retailers that do not read headlines. They don't give a fuck. They don't do any research. They don't know what an ETF is. They have never heard of it. And they just buy ETH based on the fact that Bitcoin is at 63 and ETH is at 3.5. And 3.5 is lower than 63, which is not any of anybody's concern because it's about market cap. But they do not get it. They do not care. So it's simply put, ETH is going to be a good play. Bitcoin halving is a nice fuel on the fire. And the Bitcoin ETF was the fire. And additionally, Bitcoin itself is the fire. I'm not some Bitcoin maxi. I honestly don't care. But it is something that is here to stay for a while. And I'm happy to be a part of it. That's about it. if you want to invest in crypto, trade crypto, etc., then you're at the right place. I have so many informative videos. I have weekly videos where I cover the markets with a quick overview. I don't try to waste your time. What else is up? If you want to trade, if you want to invest, WooX, Bybit, both of them great exchanges. I work with both of them, and honestly, I enjoy them both for their respective features. They both have features the other don't have, so it's kind of like up to you. Additionally, some countries have banned certain exchanges, so if you can't trade on Bybit, for example, then WooX is your way to go, and I highly recommend you trade on either of these exchanges because they're fucking great. Use my affiliate link, is down below. That's just going to help me out, help out the channel, and subscribing. It's also going to help out the channel. Liking is also going to help out the channel and help me out with distributing more of this content, more videos, more informative stuff for a lot of traders and investors alike. And yeah, thank you guys.